Number 6 on my list of hunters is Xbalanque. His passive is Dead of Night. Every time he gets a kill, he gains 5 physical power permanently. Total of 6 stacks, or 30 additional power. His number 1, Branching Bola. He turns this on, and it bounces 2 additional targets for 30% damage. Stuff like lifesteal and keen size and stuff like that do not apply on the secondary targets that are hit. Poison darts, shoots them out in a cone, does some damage, has a slow, and yeah, so it does initial kind of a little bursty damage and then techs for a little bit more damage. Number 3, Rising Jaguar, dashes forward, jumps in the air, spins random, shoots darts everywhere. If they have poison on them, they take an additional 20% damage from this, so that's kind of his combo. Use number 2, then 3. Darkest of Nights, he turns the world black for the enemies, they can't really see where they're going, and if they're continuing to move when it ticks down after a few seconds, they get stunned for 1.5 seconds. During that time, Xbalanque also gets a big movement speed increase of 60% and his basic attack range increase of 40 feet, which is just like huge. You can see I'm like attacking from like halfway across the map. So that's one thing you see Xbalanque's people play him kind of make that mistake of like, you know, you have that instinct to get close into range. Just you don't need to be. His attack range is ridiculous. During his ult. So Xbalanque is so low on the list because his lane clear early game is absolute crap. He cannot keep up unless you're playing against a very subpar hunter on the other side. Which is unfortunate. Between his passive and his number 1, he's pretty much just the hardest hitting hunter in the game. I mean, just purely because of math. His passive gives him 30 additional attack power, and his number 1 gives him, here, I'll bring it back up, and then you can get up to 50 once you cap his number 1. So that's 80 additional attack power. That's like a whole nother like top tier item for free. So for his items, if I can push the right button, I feel Rushing Transcendence is a must on him. You have to have that ability to turn your bullets on and leave them on, because you do not get that bonus damage unless your bullets are toggled on. So then Warrior Tabby, also you need the lifesteal. This is to kind of get back in this on par with the hunters who rush Devourer's Gloves or whatever. So you have some lifesteal and some lane sustainability. Then you want Wrath, Deathbringer, and Rage. Beads and Sprint, pretty standard for Hunter. And yeah, that's Xbalanque. It's unfortunate that his lane clear is so poor, because if he could clear a lane like near like half as well as you know, one of the more top tier hunters, I would say he would probably be the best hunter in the game. So, but unfortunately, you're usually trying to catch up the entire game, which is unfortunate. So, Xbalanque, number 6. Number 5 on my list of hunters is Artemis. Artemis is passive. Gives her a chance to crit. Stacks up to 3 times, a 5% chance per stack. So she's the only one who can crit without any crit items. Number 1, Transgressor's Fate. She can lay down up to 3 traps, does some damage, roots them for 2 seconds. So that's pretty good, covering escape routes and that kind of thing. Vengeful Assault is an attack speed steroid, up to 75% at max level. She also gets a movement speed of 20%, which is flat at all levels. Number 3, Suppress the Insolent, which is kind of what you're going to prioritize, is a volley. It's kind of like her lane clear / harass, has a decent damage, as well as a 2-second slow of 25%. Her ultimate, Caledonian Boar. She summons a boar. It makes her immune to crowd control for 3 seconds. Boar runs over, stuns somebody for 1.5 seconds. After a second, it runs over and stuns somebody else. You can see the active area. They have to be inside that, or Boar's just going to stand there like an idiot. So you pop your Boar, and he will charge over, and then just kind of stand there. Doesn't really attack or anything. But in a team fight, it's actually pretty handy. Artemis is pretty straightforward. You know, just auto attack in full. You know, pop sprint, whatever. Lay down some volleys and pop her Boar and just, you know, run in circles and get good at aiming. So anyhow, for her kit, or I'm sorry, for her items, I like to rush Devourer's Gloves on her, go Warrior Tabby, and then Jotun's Wrath, Executioner, Deathbringer, and Rage. Now, I'm going to show Jotun's Wrath on all the hunters, but this is, kind of like a situational item, or what I use as my situational item. The rest of them don't really change much. The only difference is when I do show Jotun's Wrath, it's either going to be Breastplate of Valor and Soleil or Jotun's Wrath. So Jotun's Wrath, if you're just kind of against a balanced team and you're not, you know, like getting owned by any one particular person. If the jungle laner or something's ganking you a lot, chances are they're going to be physical protection required because they're going to be, it's going to be like a Hunbats or a Thor or whatever. So I would replace that Jotun's Wrath with like Breastplate of Valor. If you're having problems with magical, I'd go for Anslay. So it's going to be one of those three items, even though I show Jotun's Wrath. So that's Artemis. Like I said, pretty straightforward. I don't go real high on the attack speed items with her, some of it because she does have that attack speed steroid number 2. With this build, it brings her up to 2.1 attacks per second. She's got about 4.5 seconds of downtime between when she can rapid fire again, but it's not that impactful. I don't think it's worth giving up the power or utility from other items to gain that additional attack speed. So, number 5, Artemis. So number 4 on my list of hunters is Anhur. Anhur's kit. His physical or his spear attacks reduce the target's physical protection for 3 seconds. It used to stack. Now it's just a flat 15 debuff. So number 1, shifting sands. So it's down an obelisk with some sands around it. Targets are slowed by up to 35%. They take up to 20% additional damage while on the sands. The obelisk also acts as a stationary object, which can be used in combination with your number 2 ability, which is called Impale. Throws a spear. It's a piercing attack. The thing about the piercing element of it is, once it hits a god, it no longer pierces. So if you're playing against an Anhur and you want to script his wave clear, and assuming you're in the support role, get in front of him and eat that spear, and that'll completely kill his wave clear. As long as you can take that hit. And early on, if you have the damage mitigation, it doesn't hurt too bad. So a little tip when you're playing against him. If you have somebody in solid object, you can see it pins it to him. You can see that little stun. So that's kind of Anhur's combo. Is his 1-2. You can mess up somebody's day with that. His number 3 is his Disperse. He jumps to a target location, knocks pump, does some damage, and has a knockback. You can obviously use that to position them for your 1 and 2 combo. Since if you land to the right of them, it's going to knock them off to the left, like that, and then put the obelisk in your way, and then you fail. Yeah. So obviously there I didn't need the obelisk to fail. I could have failed just like that, but whatever. You get the idea. So he's got some pretty good utility as far as getting people away from your people. If somebody's chasing, you can jump between them, knock them back, and disrupt that. Whatever. So anyhow, his ultimate, Desert Fury, he basically just throws 8 spears in a line. I mean, they don't hit real hard, but there are some benefits to them in the sense that they have a much longer range, even though it doesn't say anything about it here. They do have a significantly longer range, and they also pierce everything. You can use them through walls, you can use them through boulders, Ymir walls, whatever. So that's pretty cool. So Anhur is number 4 on my list because he's got really good utility. He with his crowd control, but it is a little tricky to kind of get down. You need that pinpoint accuracy. You need the positioning, and his ult, while it has benefits, it's not great. It's not like a realistically, once you're kind of full build with the crit and everything like that. His ult is essentially like worth like 2 auto attack crits. So he would be higher if his ult had more team utility, or just did more damage. Like I said, it's not bad. It's just it's his weak point. So anyhow, as far as his items, I don't normally get Devourer's Gloves on Anhur because I like the additional attack speed that I get from Soul Eater, as well as some health. Because with his Disperse as number 3, you find yourself kind of jumping into the fray more so than with other hunters. And because of that, I like the little extra health from Soul Eater. So then Warrior Tabby, Jotun's Wrath, once again, that's your situational item based on, you swap in and out depending on team composition with Ancillary or Breastplate of Valor. Executioner, I normally get this instead of Titan's Bane, but because I like the fact that this is a debuff on the target rather than just flat penetration from Titan's Bane, meaning when you have Executioner, the target debuff is benefits the other players on your team, whereas Titan's Bane it does not. So as a hunter standing back in the fight, generally you're gonna have some sort of melee in there doing their thing. So Executioner is gonna help them hit harder as well and help your team fight. So on melee, I get Titan's Bane because they're not always relying on a hunter standing back there debuffing as well. So it's basically the same effect for the hunter, although your first couple hits are not as powerful. There's a hit progression there because of the stacking debuff. But so yeah, and then Deathbringer Rage, then of course Beat and Sprint. So that is Anhur, my number 4 pick for hunter. So number 3 on my list of hunters is Ullr. His kit. Whenever he uses an ability in one stance, his abilities in his other stance are reduced by 1 second. It's pretty cool. So his number 1 is his kind of wave clear with damage bow. It's a piercing attack. When he's in his axe form, which you can just switch, that's your ult, is switching back and forth between axe and bow. So in his axe form, you throw your axe in a line. So there's this one. In axe form, you throw your axe in a line. Whatever. Okay. So with his bow, it's a piercing attack, wave clear. With his axe, it's a stun, as well as damage. His number 2 is his steroid. So you get additional power with the bow, and you get move speed with the axe. So if you are coming out of your pool or whatever, your spot, you want to get out there quickly, just go into axe form and pop your number 2. That'll give you that run speed movement for how was that last? 5 seconds, so not too bad. So it's like another free sprint. So take advantage of that. His number 3 is his harass in bow form.
Let's switch it up.
And you can see that spot on the ground over there. It says volley. It's actually the single longest ability in Smite, with the exception of ults. So it's pretty good. You can outrange all the other hunters with that and harass them, and yeah, be annoying. His number 3 in X form is his leap. You can use it to close or escape. Pop him in the face. And, number 1 to stun him, and then just whatever. So his ult, you can see here, he gets some different things here from his ult too. So when he's in Axe form, you get 25% lifesteal, which is really big. Which is why I don't have any lifesteal items on him. You can always go into Axe stance and hit some, farm that way for lifesteal. Then attack speed. He's got a passive 25% attack speed, so pretty cool. Makes him as far as utility is concerned, it's hard to beat Mr. Ullr. Just because of such a good wave clear, the jumping around, the stuns, the harass, it's pretty good. So as far as items, Arrest Transcendence on him, similar to Xbalanque. He's like Xbalanque, but with an actual wave clear. But he does burn through a lot of mana very quickly. So I rush Transcendence and Warrior Tabby, then I get my situational cooldown reduction item. And then Executioner, which I've already discussed, Deathbringer, and Rage, of course, beats and Sprint. So that's all. Very, very strong. He's got the escape, the close, the whatever, the stun, the harass, the steroids, and the wave clear. I mean, once you kind of get used to popping back and forth between stances and using his abilities, Ull is obviously top tier hunter, and very, very difficult to counter. He can just get away from you, or if he can't, it's great. He'll just take out his axes and beat you in the face. So, Ull, number 3. So my number 2 hunter is Mr. Ram. Ram's kit. Every 15 seconds he generates an astral arrow, which you can carry up to 5. Landing a basic attack reduces the time required to generate an arrow by 2 seconds. So as you're hitting minions or whatever, they generate much quicker. As number 1, Astral Strike. Use toggle ability. You toggle on the use of those astral arrows. Your attacks become piercing, as well as applying a slow and getting up to 50 bonus damage. Like I said, just toggle ability. Turn on. If you run out of arrows, it just turns off automatically. 2, Pick Me Up. You pop that. It's an attack speed buff, 50% attack speed for 5 seconds. And its passive of the ability is that you have a chance to regain an arrow after it's used. You still have to walk over and pick it up. It doesn't just require, you'll see it sticking in the ground. Walk over and pick that up. It goes back in your quiver. 3, Rolling Assault. It's kind of set up to be almost like a closer rather than an escape. But more often than not, you'll see people kind of reserve it as an escape. Although it does have a fairly short cooldown of 6 seconds with some cooldown reduction items. So anyhow, the reason it's a closer rather than escape is because your next shot after using this ability will cripple your opponent for 2 seconds, as well as doing 100 bonus damage. So, I mean, I guess you could use it as an escape if you're whatever you turn around and shoot them and then continue running. It cripples them so they can't chase you. So in that sense, you can use it as the escape. Somebody's, like I said, somebody's chasing you, just turn around and roll, shoot them, and then just keep going back the way you're going. If you can get that down, you'll be doing alright. Then there's ultimate. Astral Barrage goes up in the air. You have 5 seconds, place 3 shots. You can see the radius gets smaller each time, but does more damage each time. You go straight up and straight down with that ability. You cannot influence, like, even a little bit, like Nuwa. You know how you can kind of come down a little different direction. With Rama, straight down, which is, it buys you 5 seconds. If you're in a team fight and you're being swarmed upon, you can pop that to get out of there for a few seconds. So the reason Ram's so high on the list is because of his sustain. Largely due to his sustain. If you look at his kit, the mana cost of his number 1 is 0, costs nothing, and then which is his wave clear. So his early lane game, I mean, he can just basically stay out there, as long as he's got blue. There's no, even without blue, he's the least impacted by not having the blue buff. Because like I said, his number 1 requires no mana. So that's huge. He's got the good escape. He's got really, really good, like I said, wave clear. The attack speed steroid is number 2. And then just kind of like that global-ish kind of alt. You can see the range is limited, but it's still pretty decent range. You can affect, a third of the map or whatever. It is piercing, so even if they're hiding behind any kind of terrain or whatever, you can take your best guess at where they might be hiding and shoot through that terrain with his ult, and it'll still get them. So, as far as his items, do Devourer's Gloves on him. Let's see, it doesn't really need, he's not real heavily dependent upon mana. The lifesteal is a must though. Warrior Tabby, his cooldown item. Although, like, this is, you know, it's one of those things where he doesn't use much mana, so kind of Ancillate is really attractive on him because it gives him that magical protection. It doesn't give him any mana, but like I said, he doesn't go through a lot of mana anyhow. But that is another stacking item, so you know, depending on you know how the game's going, you know, laning phases. Obviously, we're gonna get most of your stacks, but if you think you can get double stacked, then Anslate's a great item on him. Then just the usual Executioner, Deathbringer, and range, beads, and sprint. So that's number 2 on my list of hunters, Mr. Ram. So number 1 on my list is Apollo. Apollo's kit is passive Audacity of 10 basic attacks. He gets a 100% attack speed buff for the next 5 attacks. Those are hit or miss, so be careful not to waste those. His number 1, So Beautiful. He shoots out a beautiful note, so beautiful it's painful, in a line. It's his wave clear. Very effective wave clear. Number 2, Serenade. It's a Mez. He gains physical protections as well as putting the enemy to sleep. He gets protections for 5 seconds and they're asleep for up to 2.3. They wake up on any damage. So number 3 is the moves. Slides forward, Rockstar, knocking aside any enemies he goes to. It also applies a stack of Audacity for each one you hit. So if you're, you know, going to kind of make that move, you know, you got a gank coming in or something like that, try and get, and if you don't have Audacity already stacked up, like I obviously do, then you want to kind of set up in the wave of minions so you can slide through the minions and then do your thing. You know, that way it'll stack Audacity for you very, very quickly by sliding through those minions. It, you know, does decent damage as well. So you know, 250 base plus, you know, whatever, 55% or something like that of your attack power. You get a movement speed buff afterward for 2 seconds, and they get a movement speed debuff for 2 seconds of 25%. And then his ultimate, Across the Skies, summons his Golden Chariot, and as long as you've got the mana, you can fly anywhere you want. You can see this ticks down pretty quickly, and then you just we want to go, you come in, you shoot him, you mez him, you can do whatever, you can slide, you can whatever, you can kill him. The thing is that you can see I went from a full bar of mana to half a bar of mana in about 5 seconds of flying around. So, yeah, have some mana potions and or blue buff, because you're going to need it. I don't normally go Transcendence on Apollo, although it's not a bad buy. He's just one who kind of ends up more in the mix, so to speak, than some of the other hunters. At least the way I play him, because I try and, you know, use his 3 quite a bit offensively. But he's a very strong hunter. Just the fact that he can cover anywhere on the map, you know, with his ult, you know, it's just pretty amazing to get in for a gank or to assist. His wave clear is great. It's the fact that he can influence a team fight. You know, a 2.3 second mez is enough for a coordinated team to isolate who they want to take out and focus that one person and take the support or whoever out of the team fight for a couple seconds, which is pretty critical. So yeah, that's Apollo, number 1, for a reason. I mean, he's very, very tough. You know, so you can fly around, you can do stuff. He's a lot of fun to play, and got the escape. He's very slippery too. He can you know, sleep you and then get away. Just good dude. As far as his items, Devourer's Gloves, Wear Tabby, just kind of the usual, you know, Jotun's Wrath, which of course is situational, Executioner, Deathbringer, and Rage, and beats and sprint. So, because of his superior wave clear, his crowd control, his escape, and then the fact that his ult is global and he can be anywhere in just a couple of seconds, anywhere on the map to assist, is why he is number 1 on my list. So yeah, there's a couple other hunters that weren't mentioned. Neath is decent. You know, I think that she's too slow. Her alt is it's a 1 second stun. Eh, you know, yeah. I mean, it's global as long as you have kind of like some minions or something or a ward nearby. So I mean, you can assist somebody slightly, but like I said, it's just a 1 second stun. It doesn't do that much damage. I mean, it you know, even fully charged all the way across the map, it does half the damage of a Hebwa water spout. You know, it's like eh. So, anyhow, AMC. I think if his ult were buffed to not suck, then I mean, because you know he would be a pretty good hunter, but as it is, his ult is essentially you know it's just another kind of auto attacky thing crit. You know, I mean, and it's pinpoint accuracy. You know, it's I don't know. His ult just kills him. Cupid, I don't know. I think that they toned down his damage too much. You gotta hit with the heart bomb consistently to be effective with him, and some people are. Don't get me wrong, but they toned him down, his damage down too much to compensate for the fact that he's got his little heal, which is you know kind of ineffective. I mean, it's it's one of those things where they made him kind of okay at a couple of things versus really good at any one thing. And then his ult is kind of ineffective unless you have his passive fully stacked up, which means you know you need 8 auto attacks before his ult even applies a 1 second stun. So you know another one of those where it's just like no, it's just too weak. Although obviously no matter who you're playing, there's always going to be some people who excel at a certain character or are able to overcome the weaknesses of any particular god. Um, you know, there's a popular YouTuber FG3000 who absolutely loves Neith. And, I mean, Neith is good. She's fun to play. It's just her alt, I think, really kind of distances her from the pack of really good hunters, all-around hunters, to where if you're going to take time to really get a couple of hunters up to you know, top level play or something like that, I think Neith is not going to be or should not be one of them. She just at skill cap, meaning you know the people who are just like really good, you never see them play Neith, and you know there's a reason for that. You never see them play AMC, you never see them play Cupid. It just doesn't happen because their kit just doesn't warrant that level of play. So maybe someday they'll get buffed and you know there'll be more parity, which would be cool. But for now, they don't. And so, yeah, Apollo, number 1.